As I get older, it's getting harder and harder to justify playing games on the PS2 when emulation exists. Time Crisis 3 is one of those reasons. It's a game that represents the pinnacle of a genre that's been all but forgotten since the death of the CRT TV, light gun arcades. But more on that later. For now, let's play while I tell you a story. Sometime around middle school in a Midwest city, an arcade opened down the street. And on Fridays, when my brother and I would walk home from school, we'd unload our allowance quarters and play Time Crisis 3. The one with the dual screens and the metal foot pads and the haptic light guns. We'd spend hours lost in the glow of the CRT, blasting away. Then, when the game was ported and released for the PlayStation 2 in 2003, I knew I had to have it. That Christmas, my parents got me the Time Crisis 3 bundle box with 2 GunCon light guns. My brother and I rushed downstairs to the basement TV, hooked it up, and it didn't work. The light guns just wouldn't work. Unfortunately, that's because we had a high-definition CRT, which this game does not work on. Sadly, we returned the game, and shortly thereafter, the local arcade closed down, and that's the last time that I ever played Time Crisis 3. Until now. This game is so much fun. It's the same game as the arcade version, and the light guns work great. All right, so the plot. You drop into this pristine island, and you're a special agent, and you blast away bad guys. It's pretty much all you need to know. One of the things that makes this game so fun on the PS2 is that you can hook 2 light guns up to the same TV, and 2 people can play at the same time. And this is one of the best 2-player experiences that I've ever had in any video game. You can even hook 2 PS2s up to 2 different TVs using 2 different copies of the game, link them, and then play arcade-style 2-player. The GunCon 2 feels truly fantastic. It's lightweight, it's super accurate, and the button layout here just makes sense. It has a button on the bottom for crouching, which makes it a great 2-hand experience when you're aiming. This is one of those games that I feel like a lot of people and collectors have forgotten about. And when you bring it up or you show them a picture or they come over and play, they're like, oh yeah, like this is the game from the arcade that I used to play when I was a kid. See, Time Crisis 3 came out at kind of a bad time for light gun games. It was 2003. And at that point, a lot of people were already buying high-definition CRT TVs, rear projection TVs, and even LCD and plasma TVs were making their way onto the market. And unfortunately, because of the light gun technology with this game, it requires a standard-definition CRT TV. It doesn't like upscaling. It doesn't like those high-def CRT TVs as I had when I was a kid. This game was pretty much dead on arrival and didn't last very long because a lot of people started getting rid of their old standard def CRTs. If you want to play Time Crisis 3, you have to play on a standard def CRT. And still, over 20 years later, I don't think there's anything that can quite beat the accuracy and the simplicity that is Time Crisis 3 on the PS2. Now, I know people are going to take to the comments and tell me why I'm wrong about that and how you can actually download software on your PC to use with modern-day light gun technology and that it actually can work on an LCD or OLED TV nowadays and blah, blah, blah. There's all these reasons. Well, guess what? For me, that's just too much work and that's too complicated. With Time Crisis 3 on the PS2, you plug it in and it just works. CRTs are inherently superior for light gun games than modern-day TVs for a reason. And that's because they have a scanline-based refresh, and that allows the light gun to detect the exact area you're aiming on the screen based on when a light flash is detected. And this makes them both incredibly simple and incredibly accurate. And that's something we just aren't able to do with today's TVs. Now, light gun games didn't die off entirely, and in fact, they released a bunch for the PS3, there were some for the Wii, and there were even some for the PS4 and some VR experiences as well. But the accuracy has always been an issue that's never quite been as good as a CRT TV. The PS3 had these Move controllers. The Wii, which I actually think is pretty accurate, which used that sensor bar That's a decent experience, still not as good. And then Time Crisis 4 actually was released for the PS3 in this bundle box, and it came with the GunCon 3, which had special sensors that you attached to the sides of the TV, and it was kind of a finicky experience, still not as good, I think, as the CRT. And nowadays we're seeing some release for VR headsets, which is kind of an interesting hand motion aim experience. So if that's something you've used and you had a good experience, let me know in the comments. But today you really don't hear much about light gun games anymore because, well, they really don't make them anymore. But back in the early 2000s, they were fairly popular and a lot of people played them at the arcade. It's kind of sad because it's like a whole genre of gaming that's pretty much been forgotten, these light gun arcade and rail style shooter games. So I've been looking for Time Crisis 3 for quite a while, and I bid on several of them on eBay, and I ended up getting outbid several times. I nearly picked one up at my local game store when they had it for like $200 a couple years ago, but somebody ended up buying it, and I happened to bid on one a couple weeks ago on eBay and got it for a decent price. I got the big bundle box, which comes with 2 gun cons. You can also buy the single GunCon box, and this box is a package that comes with the game, the GunCons, and cords needed in order to hook it up. You can see my box still has its original sticker price of $60. What I think makes Time Crisis 3 so special is that it's a game you're going to want to break out and play. And it's a game that you can only play, asterisk, on the PS2 and on a standard def old school CRT. Unlike most games you collect for where you might not want to break it out and play, or it might be better played on an emulator. Time Crisis 3 is one of the few games that I think brings meaning in a modern age to the PlayStation 2. And I'm so excited to keep playing this game. Let me know what your favorite light gun game is down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.